But of course, when we come out from that time, in year 2003, we become world number one because the Americans has fired and laid off all their employees. And when the business come up very fast, they have nothing to offer. So even the tsunami actually give us chances if we can hold of it. Of course, you have to be double fast. You have to understand globalization and not to give yourself excuses. Failure do happen. Okay. Now, these are business side. How about Thomas?
Well, I was just thinking about the unpredictability of the future and how crisis can hit us. But I think there are good management principles that can help us somehow to protect us and to minimize the risk if we stick to those basic principles. I want to, I have this example, we have donations coming in every year, right? Sometimes it's more than what we need for that year. So the question back then in our organization is how to do with these assets. There were suggestions to invest them, which is not wrong. Of course, not in very speculative kind of investment tools. But there are, on the other hand, those that believe we should plan to use them up as soon as possible. And we argue about this. I think the organization finally come up with a policy that we're not going to invest our excess donations for several simple reasons. First of all, our donors, they give us the money, want us to use it to help the poor. They don't want us to invest it. If they want to invest it, they'll do it themselves. And what is the core business? What is our core capability? That is to serve the poor. We're not that capable in investment. That decision kind of make us, at times, the laughing stock of people when all kinds of investment tools yield high returns and you still put it in a fixed deposit. But then when the crisis strike, of course, we understand all kind of investment tools suffer, be it bonds, be it equity, be it funds. So in a while, in that matter, we save the organization a lot of mental energy, and then we don't have to worry about how we are going to give an account to our donors about the financial laws, how we can come up with funding to keep the program running. So I think prudent basic management principles, many of them Peter Drucker advocate, is very useful for NGOs especially. Yeah.
I'm very glad that Thomas pointed out this very important thing is whether it's NGO, whether it's business, we all need good management. Drucker say management is not business management. It means management is for all. Now, I'm very happy that I think this is a very, very important lesson, that NGO should not go into something that you don't know, that is investment. Let the people do the investment, and you do the mission and serve the people. I think this is great, okay? Now, at least we have a lot of lessons learned from our panel. Let's move on quickly to the second focus area. Okay. Now, in this area, I'd like you to identify those events, factors for what Drucker said, future that has already happened. For example, on the far left hand, you have these male and female ages, okay? And so we can predicting the future is futile because anything can happen anytime. But we should look at the events and the things that move. For example, birth rate, you don't suddenly have 10 million people come up. They all grow from baby and then grow up. So in that sense, the future has already happened. And so let's look at those things. Recently, I read a book by Thomas Friedman, The World is Hot, Flat, and Crowded. I think many of you have read it before. One thing that I never thought of, being a city person in Hong Kong all along, That is, in 2008, half of the world populations are in cities. Now, of course, we don't know Hong Kong people. Everybody goes to a city. There are a lot of problems. And also, these a lot of problems give a lot of opportunities for business. And it says the number of mega cities over 10 million is increasing very fast. I think in a few years' time, there are over 40 cities that are over 10,000 people, 10 million people, okay? Like other factors like education, government policies, environmental issues, energies, and so on, intellect and social network, for example, these all will as an organization. So this time, I'd like to ask again, Professor Wong, could you give us some leading insights and some comments on these kind of factors that's happening?
I think the relevant factors for each business are not the same. I think that's very important. You must understand what are the key factors that impact your business. For many, and furthermore, you must also identify the key factors that impact the market that you are in. Right. If I look at Hong Kong, and from the perspective of my own industry, higher education, the single most important thing is demography. It's population size and young people, right? That's most important because those are my clients, right? And the most important thing to get it right is, well, you can look at the population in Hong Kong and look at the age structure, and you will pretty much have a good idea what will happen. But it will be an incomplete idea because you must look at the other thing. Today, for a permanent Hong Kong resident who is getting married today, each year, more than half of them are marrying someone from across the border. Now that is, and that is very important. My future client is going to look very different, even from the vantage point of Hong Kong, the territory. 3, if I were to change my business so that I'm not only going to operate in Hong Kong, wow, the whole world is my field. Right. I must study all the demography all over the world. Well, at least in Shenzhen, maybe in Guangdong, maybe all over China, maybe Southeast Asia. I must determine demography is important. But demography is only important in my business. There are other factors that will impact you. If you wish to go into a narrow line of business, how will you deliver it? Well, you can, the IT platform, the logistics supply chain are important features whereby you deliver your products because your client may not be a final consumer. My client is a final consumer, the student. Some of you are servicing other companies. Well, that becomes a completely different ballgame. So the key factor is analyze your problem. You must identify the key features and do not just look at your own market. Right. Because your market, the current market you are in, may not be the best opportunity set either. Right? Well, there are certain businesses where you are restricted, like the hospital authority is restricted to only serving people in Hong Kong. Well, a lot of people come to Hong Kong to have give birth to children.